The last one I made was about Steve Biko and Nelson Mandela. And I deleted it myself. Some things, you go through so much stuff, and I think a lot of people have been through enough stuff, and they've been abused enough by all you assholes, all you selfish assholes. And, as this, as this horrid masquerade plays itself out, because of the books and because of people's attention to the books and so much belief and I don't want to say devotion. They're not devoted to the books. No, well, because there's so much in the books that they say that is right and they don't do, so there's no devotion. I mean, people that say they're devoted to living the ways of the Bible, that's bullshit. It says over and over and again in the Bible, perfect ways to live and perfect understanding without even debate or, it's just not. I understand that I'm part of the narrative because of the spirit that provides life to this body, but it was very confusing when I was a kid. There was a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation, and it's hard to, when you get right down to it, there's so much misinformation with the way the books are written and the way the stories are told. There's too much magical thinking and too much mythology. They had a thing on my YouTube, C.S. Lewis, God was hiding you because, I'm like, what the fuck what is this man talking about? And he was considered one of the foremost intellectuals and interpreters of scripture in the Bible and the history of the world, C.S. Lewis, right? And so is Tolkien. And when you understand that there's a lot of stuff in there that's just, it's not real, okay? And I remember that when I was a kid and we went to the Mormon church and they would talk about stories in the Bible and the Mormon Gospels and things like that. And they would talk about certain things, and I knew for a fact from watching TV and having my mom explain a lot of the stuff about TV to me, that's not real, this is that, and watching cartoons. I knew for a fact that we never had unicorns and we never had dragons. Okay. And I knew in the books where, the sticks turn into snakes, that didn't happen, that doesn't happen, it's not real. It never has happened, it's never going to. Okay, the part with Cecil B. DeMille with Charlton Heston, and they put the sticks on the ground and they turn into snakes, and Charlton Heston, some snake eats their snakes, which is not true. Okay. That does not happen. And you don't touch the river and it turns into blood, and that's not true. Okay. What could happen is that the something happened with the water, like on that what's the name of that movie, that TV show, with that Charlie Sheridan TV show with Tug McGraw and all that, when and they got sick from the water because it had because the environment caused, you get stuff in the water, and that's more than likely the case. Okay, and it was muddy, and it got muddy because they screwed up the ecosystem, and that's more likely the case, and then they turn it into a kind of horror story. And so usually, typically, me and Amy had that talk about things and stuff too, about the Iliad and the Odyssey and the stuff with the, and they had the thing about Cyclops, and I said, well, what if the guy was like from Goonies? It was like John Matuzak's character from Goonies, and the dad took him out to an island because people persecuted him, and the dad stopped coming, and then Amy just said, well, what if he was this evil person, they locked him out there because he was mean? I was like, well, either way, it still works. I just look at the cup is half full, you look at it half empty. But it's just a way to get people to understand, you know, maybe centaurs and things like that, where, you know, maybe there was something that people had bestiality and creatures were born and then they stopped doing that. I don't know. I can't tell you. Okay. They have things about that. I don't know if that's tangible. I'd like to hope not. Okay. But I know tigers and lions can have sex and have offspring that are functional animals, like dogs, you know, that are what we perceive as different breeds. But most breeding of dogs is humans doing genetic engineering, because humans do shit like that, you know. And scientists, instead of letting nature take its course, human beings take over and then try to perfect things. And usually when they do that with animals, what happens is it develops things in the breed that develop a defective gene in the gene pool, like Professor Laverine talked about in Latin American studies and at ASU. You know. And she was a Rhodes Scholar. Okay. And she got her master's at the University of Havana, and I think and then her PhD from Cambridge, I believe it was. And but she was, I really enjoy her. She's a good person, good woman, and despite her education, her education was, she used her capacity to educate to try to dispel a lot of myth and traditions and stuff that were used to abuse women with traditional ways of thinking, which were considered traditional ways of thinking. It's not traditional ways of thinking. We shouldn't say that. We shouldn't give something like a tradition. It's a tradition to feed this or feed that or help these. We shouldn't call it a tradition. We should say a conditioned way of thinking, an abused way of oppression way of thinking was more what she was dealing with, as far as dealing with colonial Central and South America and the results of that kind of abuse. So we don't want to call it tradition, because traditions are based off of doing good things. It's a family tradition to make sure that we get in the fields on time and bring in the crop on time and share, given accordance to need, built to last. Traditions are things like Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah and Hanukkah, things like that. And where people get together and they share, care, give in accordance to need, built to last, and give thanks. So that's a tradition. Those are good things. And we shouldn't sit there and say that cultures that are oppressive and violent and aggressive because they feel they can, we shouldn't call that tradition. That's wrong, right? So I don't know if any of you will be able to see the one that I just deleted. Wow. If you got friends in low places at the CIA or at NASA, you're a rich person and you're worth billions of dollars, you probably already watched it. It's true. I got to think, outside this box that I'm in and in the horrid reality that I'm actually having to endure because of their traditions. That's sarcasm. Yeah, I know, I get it. Oh, shit, man. What a rotten place to live. I'm going to try to load this one, make it my last one of the night. I'm going to try to get to sleep and get up and shoot stuff in the barn. I know there are things as far as having to deal with extremism, that I have to radically change certain things of my interaction with all this abuse and my behaviors to calm down and help my body recover, and then try to help other people recover psychologically, mentally, emotionally, to get through whatever time we have to get through, if Jeffrey Hinton is correct about what's going on with AGI and quantum computing. So I don't know if he is. Yeah, he did his thing and then he left, and that's just basically a guesstimation on what he thinks is going to happen, but he's not the main person behind it. You invent the Queen, and then Radigan takes it and tries to get Flavisham to make the thing Queen of England, only you, and I'm not Basil Baker Street, and I'm not going to go out and try to solve mysteries. There is no mystery. All I got to do is be good, understand right from wrong, do right, and be truthful, while people that are not good and are not doing right are still lying and trying to act like it, like what we talked about earlier in the earlier video feed. So that's all I got to do. It's got to be me. It's excruciating. It's just psychologically, mentally, and emotionally horrid and abusive, and physiologically, it's terrible too. And people, no, man, guys. When I challenged them back in 2017, I ended up in the hospital with 2 teeth rotted out from issues that only plague people that are alcoholics and drug addicts. And I don't want to. You can't do it all over again. I don't regret what I did, trying to get the people in the military to stand up and tell their scientists we're going to be like him and not your trained murdering, sex crazed dogs. So no, I don't regret what I did at all, and I did it. Like I told everybody about the stuff on YouTube. It doesn't matter if it was dumbass kids here in town that put that on my YouTube thing. What matters is how I responded to it. That I said I used to enjoy Pop-Tarts when I was a kid and said, oh, I need that $2 million now. No, I'm the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer. You're a stupid trained dog that thinks you're going to get award-winning natural ingredients dog food in a bag from multimillionaires and say it's the best love you can possibly give your pet. If you really love your pets, you'll stand up for the Lord's Prayer so your pets can live in the kingdom of heaven with you and your spouse or your significant other or whatever you want to call the person that you have sex with. I don't care if I offend people. They don't give a shit if they offend me. I get offended on way worse than I've ever offended on them. I stand up for a Lord's Prayer all by myself. They watch me get abused, in numerous ways. I haven't said anything offensive about anybody I've had a relationship with in my life. When I'm truthful and they're not truthful, and then they're offended by me being truthful. And I was like, dudettes. Patriot Act? Linguistics? Surveillance? Okay. How am I making you look bad? You won't stand up for the truth of the Lord's Prayer with me. You're doing a horrible job of making yourself look bad. If you want to look good, be good like me. It's not that hard. Everybody, that has spent time with me and being able to live with me in the same domicile should understand me. And should understand that I'm right, and they should understand just how much I love them and how I will accept nothing less than the perfect love of living the Lord's Prayer for them and for everybody else. Okay? I'm going to go to bed after this one loads. Peace out.